All right, so you've seen those breathtaking drone shots of Indonesia, right? The volcanoes, the beaches, it's just incredible. Well, if you're thinking about capturing some of that magic yourself, you are in the right place. We're going to break down exactly what you need to know about the drone laws there so you can fly with confidence and avoid some serious trouble. I mean, who hasn't seen those epic shots of volcanoes from above or those endless, sweeping green rice paddies? It makes you want to grab your drone and just go. But hold on a second. Before you even think about taking off, you have to understand that Indonesia does not mess around with its drone rules. The laws are strict, and the penalties, well, they're pretty severe. And that really sets up what we can call Indonesia's drone dilemma. On one hand, you've got this dream of capturing unbelievable, once-in-a-lifetime aerial footage. But on the other hand, you've got this reality of a very serious, very strict set of regulations you absolutely have to follow. So let's get to the good news first. Yes, you can fly a drone in Indonesia. It is allowed. The thing is, it's all regulated by their Directorate General of Civil Aviation. You'll see it called the DGCA. Think of them as the gatekeepers. Their rules are the law of the sky there, and that's exactly what we're going to unpack for you right now. Okay, let's get right into the most important stuff, the golden rules. These apply to absolutely everyone. It doesn't matter if you're a tourist just visiting, flying for fun, or you're a seasoned professional. These are the big ones, the non-negotiables. So the basic flight rules are actually pretty easy to remember. First up, altitude. You can't go higher than 150 meters. That's about 500 feet, unless you get special permission. And this next one is huge. You have to keep your drone in your visual line of sight at all times. You'll hear pilots call this VLOS. Bottom line, if you can't see it with your own eyes, you're breaking the law. Simple as that. Oh, and your drone can't be heavier than 7 kilograms at takeoff. All right, now let's talk about the environment you're flying in. First, daylight hours only. That means no cool night shots. Sorry. The weather also has to be good. We're talking at least 4.8 kilometers of visibility, and you've got to stay well clear of clouds. But here's a kind of quirky rule. You can't fly from a moving car, but flying from a boat? Apparently that's totally okay. Now for the really important safety and distance rules. The big one, the one you absolutely cannot forget, is airports. You need to be at least 15 kilometers away from any airport runway. No exceptions. Also, flying over big crowds or really dense neighborhoods, that's a definite no-go. And for all you photographers and videographers out there, listen up. If your drone has a camera, you have to add an extra 500-meter buffer zone from any restricted areas. Okay, so everything we've talked about so far applies to everybody. But the rules start to change depending on why you're flying. Is this just for fun, or are you doing it for work? This is a really important distinction, so let's get into it. Really, the main difference boils down to paperwork. If you're a hobbyist or a tourist just getting some vacation shots, you're in pretty good shape. No registration, no license needed. They recommend you get insurance, but it's not a must. But if you're flying commercially, making money in any way, it's a whole different ballgame. You absolutely must register and get authorization, and you are required to have valid insurance. Now, even if you're just flying for fun, there are a few more things to keep in mind. You've got to be at least 18 years old. Your drone has to be under 2 kilograms, which, to be fair, covers most of the popular drones like the Mavics and Minis. You can only fly one drone at a time, and this one should be obvious, but I have to say it, never, ever fly under the influence. So let's just hammer this home for anyone flying commercially. 2 things you absolutely, positively must have: official authorization from the DGCA and a valid insurance policy. These are not suggestions, they're deal breakers. Okay, so we talked about keeping your distance from things like airports. But there are also specific places, entire zones, where flying is just completely off limits. You really need to know where these no-fly zones are if you want to stay out of trouble. The government has an official name for them, forbidden areas. And it's exactly what it sounds like. These are spots designated by the Ministry of Transportation where you just cannot fly. End of story. We're talking about places like controlled airspace or sensitive government buildings. So what exactly counts as a forbidden zone? Well, think of any controlled airspace, any area the government has officially marked as restricted. And you guessed it, that 15-kilometer bubble around airport runways we keep mentioning. And don't forget that camera rule. If you've got a camera on your drone, you have to add another 500 meters of distance on top of that. Which brings us to our final section, and honestly, it might be the most important one. What happens if you just ignore all these rules? let's just say the consequences are no joke, and you definitely need to know what you're up against. First off, let's talk money. If you get caught breaking the rules, you could be looking at a fine of up to 5 million Indonesian rupiah. And yeah, a fine that big is going to do more than just put a damper on your vacation. But it gets a lot more serious than that. Forget the money for a second. You could also be facing up to 3 years in prison. Yeah, 3 years. This is not a slap on the wrist. Breaking these laws can have genuinely life-altering consequences. Now, the punishment isn't always the same. The rules are clear that judges will look at your intent. Did you break the law on purpose? Were you trying to make money from it? Things like that can make a huge difference in how severe the penalty ends up being. Look, flying a drone in Indonesia can be one of the most incredible experiences, and you can get some truly stunning footage. You just have to do it the right way. So fly smart, fly safe, and please fly legally. So I'll just leave you with this one final thought. When you're out there and you're tempted to push it a little, to bend the rules for that one perfect shot, just stop and remember what's really at stake. And ask yourself, is it worth the risk? Thanks for tuning in.